Hey guys, this is Comic Uno, and today I'm doing Comic Uno episode 283, also known as Comic Uno's Best Comics of the Week. So let's get started. This week I have 18 books. We go least favorite to best pick of the week. So, number 18 for me this week is Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, issue 37. As you guys know, if you've been following my series for a long time, I haven't been really liking this version of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers since, you know, the new creative team took over. Haven't been really liking the team very much, and it's very, I would say, more plot-driven than character-driven, and dives a bit deeper into the mythos of Power Rangers. And for me, I like the character attractions more, which is why I lean towards, and always have leaned towards, more Go-Go Power Rangers than this series. But I am excited for Ryan to take over the title, because he does write Go-Go as well, and hopefully we could get to see some of that plot and character mixed together a little bit more. But I do feel like the artwork has improved a lot. It's not as muddled as it used to be, and the colors, I would say, interact with each other a bit better in these previous issues. So I'm going to give Mighty Morphin Power Rangers issue 37 2 stars, and that is number 18. Moving on to number 17, which is The Flash, issue 67, which I did move digitally because if you guys, you know, been following my Flash reviews, you'll know that it's been kind of in a stall. The only times I feel like this book really progresses is when it has a crossover with Batman or has an annual. And usually the annuals get me really excited. It's like, okay, cool, the next issue we're going to see Bart, or we're going to see some more answers. And then they go on to this, you know, random filler story, and then every arc after that are filler stories, and we're still getting that. I mean, I like that at least we're getting to see Barry's other supporting cast members involved from the police station, so that's cool, I guess. But I could care less about the Trickster, and I really don't like the artwork very much. It's kind of messy for me. And like I said, I want to get back into the Flash family and what's going on there. It just feels like 2 years. Like, what are you waiting for? I need the gas to be pressed now, because I feel like we've been on the brakes for a while. So I'm going to give this one 2 stars. Again, just been kind of disappointed with this series. I pick it up because there is definitely potential for the book, but I just don't know when it's going to happen. I also really don't like the direction they went with Iris, that she left. I don't really love that motivation because she was so gung-ho for Barry, and she actually does know a bit about their past and remember their marriage somewhat, so it seemed weird and out of place that she's out of this series again. Alright, moving on to number 16, which is Outcast, issue 40. I've been picking up this series since issue 1, and when this book is good, it's really good, but most of the time, it's just like this, and that's exactly where we're at right now. It's kind of flatlining for me, because I feel like the world is not very developed. I still don't even know what these monsters are, and at first you think that's the mystery. It's just like, alright, I guess they're just never really going to be explained, and it's kind of The Walking Dead meets The Exorcist. That is what Outcast is about, but it's kind of becoming a little bit too much like The Walking Dead, where it's just like, alright, here's all these groups and people trying to survive, and that's kind of what the book's about. The artwork is definitely the best part of this, and why it's higher than the other titles I mentioned. I do really like the beats that it takes and those subtle moments. But even here in this issue, I don't think the art was the strongest I've seen with it. Especially in the group scene. I feel like there wasn't as much detail with the people here. So, and again, not bad artwork by any means. I think the artwork's gorgeous. But from what I've seen in past issues, it wasn't the strongest for the series. So I'm going to give Outcast issue 40 2.5 stars. Obviously going to finish it off. Hopefully the ending surprises me a bit, but I haven't been really liking the conclusion because I just feel like we've never really dug deep enough into the Outcast world, even though it's been 40 issues, and that's kind of how slow and stagnant this series has been. Alright, moving on to number 15, which is Bad Luck Chuck, issue 1, which I believe is a Dark Horse book? Maybe IDW. I believe it's Dark Horse. And the concept seemed interesting. It's about this detective who has bad luck and uses her bad luck to solve crimes. And I like that concept, but it never really passes that in this issue. I didn't really care for the character herself, and I wanted to either care about the mission or something. There is a character with her case that she ends up, I guess, kind of befriending, and that could be interesting, but there wasn't really enough in the issue where I'm like, oh, I have to get issue 2, at least for me personally. It just kind of never passed that premise for me. I don't think it ever met up my expectations and the potential it had with this kind of interesting premise. So I'm going to give this one 2.5 stars and probably won't get issue 2. Alright, moving on to number 14, which is Action Comics, issue 1009. Although I love this cover, this is my favorite cover of the week. I love Francis Manapul, as you guys know. This issue, I'm kind of torn on it. It's not a horrible issue by any means, but I don't agree with a lot of stuff that happens. I did like the Lois and Amanda Waller stuff. They kind of butt heads a lot, but it's a lot of the same thing in each page. We're like, alright, I get that Lois doesn't like Amanda, and what she's done with Superman's secret identity. Not that she said anything, but knowing Superman's secret identity. And it's just kind of repeated in every page. And then the part I really didn't like is how Jimmy acted. So Jimmy's also in the Fortress of Solitude because he's gotten involved here. And he's so stupid that, you know, Lois is literally calling Superman honey and baby, and he still doesn't know that Clark is Superman. And it's actually blatantly said in this issue that he's like that dumb that he doesn't know. And I just feel like that's not Jimmy. You know, I think Jimmy, yeah, he is gullible, but is he that gullible? I think there's a line to cross, and now he's just kind of stupid. So I didn't really like that at all, and that brought the issue down for me. But I did like the artwork, and I guess the potential of this arc is interesting, especially excited to see what happens with Lois's dad. But just there is a lot of character moments I kind of disagreed with here. So I'm going to give this one 3 stars. It's in the middle. Artwork's gorgeous. Just, you know, there's some interesting moments. Alright, moving on to number 13, which is Detective Comics, issue 1000. I won't go too much into detail because I did an in-depth review. Go check that out where I talk about some of the stories that I would highlight. But just an overall view. First of all, I only got this cover. I just got the normal one. This had the Bat Family in it, so I'm like, I'll get that one. So that's the only one I got. I saw a lot of people getting the 12 covers, but no, I'm not going to do that. The one was fine. And there wasn't any other cover that really screamed out to me, sadly. But anyways, getting back to it. It's all short stories. So if you don't want that, you don't like those type of books, don't pick this up. There's nothing here where you're like, oh my god, this is going to set up issue 1001. It doesn't. I don't know what direction this book's gonna go. There is a short story that is setting up the next arc, but nothing big for Batman. It's like, okay, here's gonna be a random arc of Detective Comics, which has been my biggest problem of Detective Comics, is that you had Tynion's run, and then after that, a lot of filler writers, and now we do have Tomasi, but it's kind of been middle ground for me. It's been kind of forgettable. So I'm gonna give Detective Comics issue 1000 3 stars. Definitely worth it if you want to get a landmark issue in your collection, but if you are just getting it for story, you probably don't need the issue. Even though there wasn't any like bad stories, it just wasn't any amazing stories either, which is why I gave it 3 stars. Alright, moving on to number 12. And number 12 for me is Shazam, issue 4. A little lower than it usually is, but this issue, you know, kind of felt a little, it didn't have as much development as the past issues, because everyone was very scattered, which I liked and disliked. You know, I like it when the family's together. But they're exploring different worlds. We even get to see Tawny the Tiger in this one as well. So if you missed him, we got him. There he is. And beautiful artwork, though. The artwork is just gorgeous. But yeah, I like the worlds we got to see, but I also kind of wish it was a bit more character-driven. I did like seeing what happened to the adults, though. So the adults have been kind of like kidnapped and doing work for the king. So that's kind of interesting. And then there was a pretty good cliffhanger with Black Adam. So is Black Adam gonna save the Shazam family? We'll have to see with that. But everything else, again, was kind of point A to point B with this one. Not a bad issue, but not as good as issue 2 and 1. So I'm going to give this one 3 stars, and that is number 12. Moving on to number 11, which is Heroes in Crisis issue 7. A lot to say here. Heroes in Crisis, I liked for the first couple of issues a lot. But I've been conflicted ever since, because I want to like this story, but I also just feel like it's going nowhere. And it's so driven by like, all right, I want to tell a poem this week. And that's been a lot of Tom King's writing, I would say, this past year. It's been like, all right, I'm just going to do a poem. I'm going to do a silent issue. And a lot of times, for me personally, it doesn't fit the narrative, or it just is not the right timing. And it's funny, I think the issue actually opens up with Wally talking about poetry and how Linda used to have, you know, say poems to Wally, and he never really understood them. So it just kind of made me crack up, because I'm just like, in my mind, I know that there's been so much poetry in King's writing, it kind of feels like an inside joke at this point. But yeah, the artwork is solid. That's been pretty good, and that's why it's been hard to rate this, because the artwork is really, really top tier. But the story is just not moving much. The only stuff I really genuinely liked here was Harley Quinn. Realization of, you know, losing her love, which was Poison Ivy. So I like that we got a little bit more with that. Barbara Gordon, it was okay here. I don't know if King really has her voice down pat yet. And you kind of see it with Heroes in Crisis. Not as bad in this book as it was in Detective. I didn't think that was Barbara at all. But you do get some moments here and there where I feel like it wasn't Barbara. There was one moment in particular, and I don't remember what it was. But when I was reading it, I'm like, that's not Barbara. So, oh man, I kind of wish I remembered. I'm sure when I reread it, I'll remember. But, yeah, I mean, then you also get even the poetry that Harley's singing throughout, trying to kill, I believe it was Booster. But that was actually played as a joke, so I enjoyed that, because, like, oh, of course I gotta sing. Like, I don't know what you guys all do while you're fighting. So I'm like, alright, at least that was funny. And then the big moment, it's finally the last few pages where we get to see Wally, this other Wally, talk to Poison Ivy, who I don't know if she's alive or not, but, there's two Wallys, and they're kind of talking about the other Wally's death. So, what's going on here? Did Wally do it? Who knows? And then throughout, we get to see intersected scenes where we get to see Wally adjusting to the sanctuary and what life was like for him there. So, like I said, it just didn't really progress the story very much, and we're up to issue 7 now, and we only have 2 more issues. Like, are you just gonna jam-pack it in the last issue? Why did we need 9 issues of this? So it's kind of frustrating for me. So I give this one 3 stars. Again, is it a horrible story? Of course not. But I think the quality is there. I just have been kind of disappointed with this one, because I think it had so much potential, and it didn't really meet up for it towards the end right now. So I'm gonna give that 3 stars. Alright, that was number 11, I believe. Alright, moving on to number 10, which is Ironheart, issue 4. I've been pleasantly surprised by this book. I didn't really love Bendis's Iron Man with Ironheart, but I've been really liking Riri in other stuff, which is weird to say, because obviously Bendis created Ironheart, but I think he had so much going on, he couldn't put all his focus on that character. Now, we're finally really getting to see who this character is. I love that premiere issue. I think it was great, her origin, but then ever since then, I'm like, what do you want to do with this character? And she's been great in Champions, and I really like the voice here. I really enjoy her character, especially the scenes with our mom here, where she talks about her father, her stepfather, you know, being her real father, and, you know, losing him. So I really enjoyed that stuff. The artwork is drop dead gorgeous, especially when she's in the suit. There's some really great scenes. The reason this is a little lower is that the rest of the issue is pretty much exposition of this character I don't care about, where I like the mission, I just didn't really need to know his past and about this dial that Riri has. I'm sure it'll become important, but I'm like, I'm not as interested in that than, you know, the more personal story for Riri. That's where, you know, this series gets me a little bit more. So I'm gonna give this 3.5 stars. I did like the issue, but just the exposition kind of took it out. It actually would have probably made my top 5 if it wasn't for the exposition. Alright, moving on. Number 9. Which is Sabrina the Teenage Witch, issue 1. Was a little conflicted with this because it isn't your classic Sabrina. So the visuals very much remind me of Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. the television show, and I guess the comic too. I read like one issue of the comic, so I don't know. But I have seen the TV show. So even, you know, the ambiance kind of reminds me of that. And definitely more Wicca magic that she's using than like point the finger magic. So it feels a little bit more like Chilling Adventures, but obviously not as dark. This is a slice of life Archie style book, which was very nice. And it's Sabrina's first day at school, and she's trying to make friends, which I enjoyed. I don't know if I love the supporting cast members yet, but they're introduced well, I guess. And we get a good cliffhanger with the school's bully, which I'm like, all right, I'll get the next issue. That looks cool. So it didn't blow me away, but definitely gave me enough to want to try out the next issue. So Sabrina Teenage Witch issue 1 gets 3.5 stars. All right, moving on to number 8, which is Glow issue 1. I really like the television show. I watched all 2 seasons, and this takes place, it seems like it's season 2, because there are season 2 characters here. So it was cool. It was a fun tie-in. You know, these are kind of hard to do because you can't really progress the story because you have season 3 that hasn't come out yet. And, you know, so it's very filler-ish. But I like the filler that they do, and I like the comedy that they inject here, especially with the artwork. It's very, like, chibi form, and I really like the way that they did that. I think it was kind of like anime-esque in a way, so it was fun. I really like the artwork, and I like just seeing these characters interacting. They're going to this like wrestling convention, and they have to like fight another female wrestling group. So it's gonna be cool. It's gonna be a cool story. I think it's a good way to do I guess a lost episode type format. So I liked it. Definitely gave me enough to want to pick up the next issue, and again, it was just fun. So if you like Glow, I do recommend you watch the show first, because there's a lot of characters, and I only knew the characters because it took me a while in the show to learn all of them, but I got them now, so I know them from the comic. But if you just jump into this, you're gonna be completely lost. So watch both seasons of the show before you jump into this one. So I'm gonna give this 3.5 stars. Moving on to number 7, which is Fantastic Four, issue 8. I got the variant cover, the puzzle quests. They're usually pretty good. And I thought this was an improvement for Fantastic Four. It's not my favorite issue of the series, but I always like the family stuff. So I enjoyed Alicia and Franklin's dynamic a lot here, where Franklin is a little angsty because of things that have happened with his abilities. So he runs away. So Alicia's not very happy about it. And we get some like fun Val scenes in here as well. She's definitely not the front and center in this issue, but that's okay. She had some good lines here. And then making Dr. Doom more of the villain here instead of Galactus made it a little better, especially just the way he interacts with the kidnapped Fantastic Four. And I love the dynamic and results of the Fantastic Four figuring out a way to defeat Dr. Doom. And it's actually Sue's abilities to become invisible that they're starting to do that. So that was cool, because Dr. Doom in the issue undermined her abilities to turn invisible and says, hey, you know, we turned off your force field. The visibility doesn't matter. He's like, yeah, it does. The reason this is not higher, there's like 5 artists in this book, and it's kind of noticeable. There's times where I'm like, oh, I really like that art, and then it goes to another artist. So I don't love that. I like when it's more consistent. I know it's probably for time and stuff like that, but I wish it was a bit more consistent. So I'm going to give this 3.5 stars, and that is number 8, I believe. Let me see. That was number 7. Moving on to number 6, which is the Avant-Guards, issue 3, which is a solid issue. And for me, I went to a liberal arts college, so I definitely connected to this a bit more than I'm sure someone who didn't go to a liberal arts college would. But I like it as a fun sports narrative. It's the team finally goes up against their first basketball not challenge, match, I guess, game. There you go, basketball game. And the other team is, I guess they're like vets or something, but they have all these dogs that they're trying to put up for adoption while the game is going on. So that was funny, and there's some good moments. This team is horrible. Our team defeats them very easily. But I hope the other matches slash games will be, you know, a bit more intense, but it was funny, and I like the dynamic of the team, and finally getting to see a basketball game. So I'm going to give this one 4 stars, and that is number 6. Moving on to number 5. So number 5 for me is The Amazing Spider-Man, issue 18. I got the variant edition of this as well. Humberto Ramos is on the artwork, which was good for the Spider-Man stuff, but the Mary Jane stuff was kind of weird, especially her dancing. She kind of looked like a grandma, and that was like a big part of the issue. Let me see if I can find her dancing. And I was like, oh, okay, interesting. There it is. Grandma dancing. Not a very good dancer, Mary Jane. Anyways, artwork is okay, though. You know, if you like Ramos's artwork, you'll enjoy it. But the MJ stuff was the stuff that are off. But I did like the Spider-Man artwork here. And the issue is pretty solid. We get to learn a bit more about the Kraven army, that these rich people have Kraven robots to try to defeat Spider-Man and his villains. You find out they're villains, so they're going to backstab each other. And that's what's happening in the issue. And then we have MJ, who is obviously worried about Peter. I actually really liked her scenes, all jokes aside. I liked this showed how much she's grown. She uses music in a different way. She used to go clubbing. Now she's like, you know, I try not to do that, but I do want to get my mind off of what's happened to Peter. And you know, the stuff that she does when she's waiting for Peter to come back home was really interesting. Now, hopefully she doesn't die, because that's what the visions are showing, or at least her getting hurt. Hopefully she can protect herself, because, you know, MJ's no damsel in distress. So, I'm excited to see where that goes. I like the MJ stuff, and overall I thought it was a pretty solid issue, and I've been liking the unique spin on this arc for Kraven. So I'm going to give this one 4 stars. Moving on to number 4, which is Jughead The Hunger, issue 13, which is the season finale of the series. I believe there's going to probably be more coming out here, just because they do say season finale. And then the next thing that is coming out, I believe in like a week or so, I think it's probably 2 weeks, is the Vampironica and Jughead crossover event. So that's going to be the next one for both of them, which I'm so excited for. I like both series a lot, and I want to see how those characters interact. And this issue is really fun. We get to see Jelly Bean, you know, she knows she's a werewolf, and she has to make a decision. Does she go with Jughead, or does she go with her cousin? And she makes a decision that she goes with her cousin. And what's that going to mean for the Hunter's Betty? Is she gonna have to kill Jelly Bean? So we'll have to see. And I think Jughead, Jelly Bean, realizes by the end of the issue, is like, oh god, I made the wrong decision. Another twist is that Veronica's father is with Betty's aunt, so that was kind of a cool twist. So overall, really solid issue. I like this world a lot. I like the characters, and there's some really good moments here. So I thought it was a really good finale, especially if it's just a season finale. Excited to see where this series will end up going. And artwork is always really solid. I believe it was just Eisma doing it. Yeah, so consistent, just Eisma doing the art. Always like his work. So giving this one 4 stars, and that is number 4, I believe. Moving on to number 3, which is Batgirl, issue 33. Probably the best issue we've gotten in a while for this series, because it's Barbara going up against her brother, and her brother doesn't exactly escape. He's actually let go. Barbara's the only one saying, like, why is this happening? He's crazy. And supposedly he has the right medication, and everyone's cool with it. And there's some really great moments between the two, where obviously James Gordon Jr. knows that Barbara's Batgirl, and even says, you know, take off your mask. You know, if you're gonna kill me as Barbara, don't kill me as Batgirl. And Barbara's almost ready to do it. You know, she actually thinks about it. And then she feels betrayed because her father knew about her brother, you know, leaving jail and never said anything. So there's a lot of family tension with this issue. And I guess this ties into Batman, the Laughs series, whatever it's actually called. No jokes, what is it? No laughs, something like that. I don't read it, but I wasn't lost because I don't read that series, so I'm guessing that's going to connect into it more, though. I really enjoyed this one. I'm excited to see where this story goes. I don't know if we're going to get it next issue, but I think it's going to be an overall series story of what's going to happen with the two of them. But yeah, really solid issue for me, so I'm going to give that 4 stars, and that is number 3. Moving on to number 2. Number 2 for me is Dial H for Hero. A lot of fun. I did an individual review for this too, so I won't go too deep. But I've been really liking the Wonder Comics stuff for the most part. I like this premiere. I like Naomi. I like Wonder Twins. Young Justice I like, but it's not as strong as the other ones, surprisingly, because that's the one I was like most excited for. I love that team. But I actually think it's one of the weaker ones out of this lineup. I'm actually going to do a video on Comic Frontline, a topic time video, where I discuss my overall thoughts on the first wave of Wonder Comics, if you want to check that out. That'll be posted Friday. But yeah, Dial H was really fun. I haven't read really anything with Dial H, and it was really new reader friendly. The artwork is out of this world. I love how the artist portrays the phone, which is kind of cool. And then we get to see the different art style for when he turns into this like 90s version. This is really cool too. Like the artwork is just out of this world. I love it so much. But yeah, when he turns into like this 90s superhero, and the artwork completely changes, and it's just so good and creative. But then also just making me really fall in love with Miguel in just this one issue, and I'll follow his journey. I already like his personality from freaking page 1 with this monologue about Superman, so I really enjoyed it, and it gave you a lot to want to read issue 2. So I'm going to give this one 4.5 stars. Really excited to see where this one goes. Upset it's only a mini-series. I want more of this. So that's number 2. Moving on to number 1, which is Snot Girl, issue 13. I love this series, as you guys might know if you follow the show. I'm a huge fan of this one, and this issue does not disappoint. We get to see Lottie have this pop-up shop where she is trying to sell merch, and it's going well for her, except that, of course, it's never going to actually go well. In the outside, we get to see her ex-boyfriend teaming up with that detective guy, which I feel like is probably one of the more mysterious characters. They're trying to figure out who the hell is Cool Girl, and the detective is just, like, fascinated by Lottie. We don't know why, but he even has, like, a wig of Lottie. So what is going on with him? I don't know, but at least we're getting some answers. And then Norm Girl, she's got her own problems and goes into Lottie's life, and she's like, all right, I can't deal with you right now. But then Cool Girl tries to comfort Norm Girl, and obviously Lottie gets upset about that. She's like, hey, you couldn't be here to support me, but you're supporting Norm Girl over here. So Lottie starts getting pissed off, and her allergy starts acting out, and then Cool Girl, she's Cool Girl, and she tries comforting Lottie, but kisses her in front of everybody. So the thing she tried keeping a secret, her sexuality and everything that's been going on, is starting to unravel. First of all, the audience, her fans start seeing the allergies, start seeing the snot, and then she's like, oh, I gotta cover that up, and that's why Cool Girl does what she does, and then, both secrets are kind of out. So how's everyone going to react to that? So that's going to be pretty interesting. So what else happened in this issue? That was the big moment here. And I love the artwork. I love how bright it is, even though it's kind of a darker story. The color palette is so great. It just works for this kind of Instagram type world, social media. Everything does look perfect, except it's not, right? So, I love this series, and I really like the progression. The only thing is that it doesn't really come out every month. It does get delayed every once in a while, so you have to wait. But, I really enjoyed this one, and this is a really good chapter to a great series. So if you're not reading Snot Girl, I recommend it. It's one of my favorite series. So that is my number 1. That is my pick of the week. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Let me know in the comments below, what did you like this week, and what books did you end up reading? Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Definitely go check out my Facebook page and Twitter. My comic books like Father Like Daughter and They Call Her the Dancer. And every Tuesday at Comic Frontline, 10 p.m. Eastern Time is Frontline Live, where we discuss our favorite comics and comic book news. So be sure to check that out as well. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Bye.